What's going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the debut album by Lil Murda of 615. Basically, this product is called I'm Done Talkin', and it came out in the late summer of 2008. So the thing about this particular product here is the information about this product is kind of scarce and minimal as far as those pitches will kind of happen just within the fair. If you don't know about Lil Murda, he's basically he's one half of the 615 group, which is basically him and High C. Now, I would have reviewed High C also by this point, but it's just kind of the fashion that he's pretty tricky to find according to Spotify. There's a lot of rappers named High C just within the pitch. I'm not as full bound sure. I know that this, like, Lil Murda has a sub label of like 615's Cashville Records label, which Young Buck had a subsidiary label called G Unit South, also Cashville Records, but he had a spin-off label for Lil Murda, and I suspect maybe High C from 615 had one as well, but it's just trickier just because the name High C is pretty much implied with like the drink High C that's like a food. So as far as this pitch is going to happen, it's a tough name to be able to find. That's pretty much why I haven't reviewed his stuff, but Lil Murda was a little easier to find, but just within the pitch behind it, I was able to find like some High C mixtapes, so I am going to get to some of those and some further Lil Murda mixtapes, but it's at least attempted. If you don't know, and I would definitely recommend checking out the Lil Murda and High C playlists and Young Buck playlists, but on my particular channel, but there was like a 615 album that came out in the spring of 2008. This album came out like approximately 6 months later, but the 615 label, the 615 album, I gave like a 10 out of 10 back in October, November when I reviewed it, and that's a pretty classic album just within the pitch. Actually has a 50 Cent verse on there, has some folks, has a number of Young Buck choruses on there, some pitches like that. Actually has some pretty good fare about it. It's a very underground type product, came out in the spring of 2008, less commonly known, but that was one of the few products on like the G Unit South label that Young Buck had made before Young Buck got kicked out of G Unit, as far as this first going to happen. But basically, this is kind of a product of like the after effects. I don't know what happened. Young Buck was kind of still part of G Unit in the summer and fall of 2008 and further, but it was just kind of within the pitches that he was just kind of damned within that particular acclamation. So Young Buck was kind of in damnation pitches like that around that particular time, but he still did manage to put out further music, and the Strong Mind ENT is a label. I don't know how much products came out on the Strong Mind. I don't know how many products came out on the Strong Mind ENT label as far as this pitch can happen. He might have found some artists to sign to there, but it just felt like it was kind of like a vanity label that just didn't last terribly long, because I tried to look up some information about it on Google, and it doesn't have much information apart from this particular product. So it's just kind of within the fairs. Looked it up on Rate Your Music, some of those type places. Really, Lil Murda information is not that common within those particular aspects. I know that he at least dropped a series of mixtapes that are a little bit trickier to find, just considering how low-key he is. I feel like if Young Buck mixtapes back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s were probably getting like 10,000, 25,000 downloads, I'd probably say that Lil Murda, at least some of these type ones. I don't know if this was released as a mixtape, but it is available. The I'm Done Talkin' album is basically an album that you can purchase, but it might have been a mixtape as well back in the day. But I look after it, probably Lil Murda, I would suspect, is probably someone that if he got the 4 digits worth of downloads, I'd be relatively surprised. Probably not 10,000, 12,000, but just within the pitch. I mean, he's big enough, but it just feels like if you're probably Lil Murda's slime, it definitely probably feels like it's just more in like local drug dealer type territory, more so than full bound. Like, he did manage to snag like a BG verse, and 615 Pal High C is on here a couple of times. All-Star Cashville Prince is on here at least once, but he's pretty low key. There's some other folks like D Strode, T Hyde, Tiffany Fitzgerald, some of these type folks, like Fluid Outrage, some other local cats like Bricks, Mike Shea, and Big Rico. So there's just some folks on here that are going to be a lot more low-key within the sense. Just understand the fashion. I suspect that just judging by the fact that Rate Your Music doesn't really have the track list for this particular I'm Done Talking project, just kind of within the pitches, that I suspect that trying to track down some of these folks that featured on this project that are not Young Buck or High C would probably be pretty tough to track down. But regardless, this is a virtual classic here. I would say it would pretty much full-boundedly be a classic if more songs from this particular product were original. It's just the fact that out of 21 songs on here, 16 of them are original, and 5 of which are to be found on the 615 album from early 20. 5 of the remaining songs are to be found on the 615 album from early 2008 as far as this pitch can happen. So you might as well, I would definitely get both of these products, but it's just within the pitch that there are some repeat songs from that particular product here. High C is on this particular song, but in terms of like the new stuff the High C is on, he's only on one song that he wasn't on the 615 album. It's the same thing. If you're expecting like some Young Buck features on here, if you're thinking that Young Buck kind of helped him out, the thing about Young Buck in like the fall of 2008 was he was kind of reeling from his beef with 50 Cent as far as this pitch can happen. I think he at least probably brought like this product to us as far as this pitch can happen. He might have executive produced it, really not as full blown sure, but it's just kind of within the concept that the Young Buck emphasis is not as full bound on this particular album. I think this is lightly kind of tinged with Young Buck just to say he might have actually brought us this product, but it's just not as full bound shown within the pitch. So, but Lil Murda definitely stands on his own as far as this pitch can happen. Just a good type of feel. This one Young Buck song, and really I'd say he's only really on the chorus on that particular song. So it's too bad that there wasn't like a Young Buck verse or something like that. But it's just within the pitch, still some good type fares. High C, like I said, is on at least one more song in the Magic Show, apart from the ones that are from the 615 album. There's just some other cats on here, but it was difficult to kind of figure out as to what the singles were off this particular project. So I'm assuming that there might have been like a buzz single or something like that. If I had to guess, probably the songs that seemed like they would have been the single would have probably been like the Magic Show with basically High C, and then possibly like there's another one on here like I'm Ballin' is a pretty good one for that relative aspect, and then I would probably say like I'm the Shit is a nice one that has like relative promo single type appeal about it. So it's just some good type ones kind of get within that appeal. But basically out of 16 songs that are original on here, I wound up recommending basically 15 out of 16. And there's really only 2 songs out of the 21 on here that I don't recommend. So basically those 2 songs would just be That's What's Up, and then one of which that's from the 615 album from 2008, which is Tell Me Where to Go. So basically to talk about these 2 songs real quick, basically That's What's Up is just basically like kind of a scuzzy kind of neighborhood type one that just didn't really have the emphasis as full bound. It's just kind of one for like this kind of that after work shift kind of traffic within a sense, but just didn't nail the appeal as full bound compared to some of these other type ones. Songs like Rock Bottom, Don't Come Around, some of those type ones just nail it better. Some of those type of pitches and some of these mixtape soul type ones just nail that particular vibe better. And then I would say Tell Me Where to Go is just a personal type one that just didn't have the appeal about it. This is just one that was just trying to pull off like some Tupac kind of Dear Mama type vibes within the pitch, but just didn't nail the appeal behind it. So it's just kind of within the concept. But basically the 5 songs that are to be found on the 615 album are Hustle 24/7, Hands Up with BG, Can't Tell Me Nothing with Young Buck and 615, or Young Buck and High C, and then Don't Ask Me Why. And then Don't Ask Me Why, and then like Tell Me Where to Go, like I was saying, that I don't recommend. So I recommend 4 out of 5 of the songs to be found on the 615 album. So that's basically 19 songs out of 21 that I recommend, like I was saying. So just to pitch the 2 songs, like I was saying, would just be That's What's Up, and then Tell Me Where to Go. So basically the concept of this album, 19 out of 21 would normally be a 10 out of 10, but because there's 5 songs that are repeat songs from another product, that's basically 16 out of 21. So I would say approximately 19 out of 21. I'm going to give this album like a 9.5 out of 10. It would be a 10 out of 10 if it was actually 19 songs out of 21 I recommend, but just there being 5 repeat songs, just kind of the pitch behind it. So really just the normal fashion that it's pretty much like, I would say damn near, if you haven't heard the 615 album within those pitches, if Lil Murda is kind of new to you within those pitches, I'd say this might as well be a 10 out of 10. But to me, because I know the 615 album and I know other 615 products, just kind of the concept that you're just getting slashed a few songs there, probably that would have been more dope ones to have gotten. I definitely think Young Buck should have been on here. Probably just the concept. I realize that this is a very low key, like I would be surprised if this album even sold like 4,000 or 5,000 copies, I would say, within the particular department behind it. So it's just within the pitch that this is basically like Stevie Stone and BG and Bullet Wound and some of those type folks type territory just within the pitch, and like Cut Calhoun, some of those type folks just within the fashion behind it, but just like the virtual kind of appeal. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. The social score, well, we'll get to that. So just some of these, like one of the most immediate ones on here would be the Magic Show. I'd have to say one of the most immediate songs on here in terms of like casual type appeal would be the Magic Show. I'd have to say this would be a good starting point to pick up like a song that has both of the 615 as a group. I mean, I like the fashion that, I mean, it worked for what it was. The High C wasn't all over this particular product because Lil Murda did need to stand on his own. It's a good type pitch to kind of get this classic team up. The Magic Show is basically like a brewing kind of evening malaise kind of get here, just a good settle in from like a day fatigue kind of aspect that has supposed about this one, just a syrupy kind of smoke and snack type vibe kind of get within some of these type type pitches. I had to say, this is a good concept. This got done with workshop, whether it's hustlers, makeshifts, and pitches like that. It's kind of the concept. Hitting up a gas station, buying like a whole bunch of snacks, some of that type fare, getting like a couple 2 liters, some of those type pitches. Just a good conduct disc for that. Embrace with homies pitches as far as that particular fair kind of happens. Just some good dap type conduct pitches like that. I'd say this within the Johnson kickback of just like the summer evening slog. So it's kind of a slog type song, but just within the pitch of disc, knowing that tonight's going to be good as far as those fairs going to happen. Just some good type conduct. There are some primer type songs on here that have some of that particular aspect. Another one that's pretty much like that would be Show 'em Something. It's like a relative kind of round the neighborhood primer. I'd have to say this one's not as oozing compared to the Magic Show, but it is a nice one here. It's like some definite house party cooking. I'd have to say about this one is something that you got getting ready to happen as far as those fairs going to happen. It's some good excitement and a very sparky type song kind of get within those aspects. So it's a nice type fair for that. Good type appeal as far as those pitches going to happen. I'd say basically the Pack Cocaine Theory is a nice one, as well as like a vintage kind of mid 2000s kind of DJ drama mixtape soul to kind of get within some of those aspects. This takes it back to like basically Young Buck from 2006, Jeezy from 2006, Lil Wayne from 2006, some of those type fairs. Just a localized kind of kickback and simple errands kind of have within some of those type pitches. So it's good type tone. Good to see that even Lil Murda can pull out these particular vibes pretty well within those pitches. Another song that's just like the Pack Cocaine Theory would be This Is Love. Pretty similar to like that soulful type fashion. This is like a further kind of stock. This Is Love is like a further kind of quality stock DJ drama soul to kind of get within those pitches. Just excellent kind of mid 2000s ringers. I would definitely feel like here just more weekday tasks running within those pitches as far as that particular fair kind of have. So some good type aspects kind of get some of those. Good type particular conduct. Rock Bottom is a nice one as well. This is a good makeshift type song kind of get here. It's like a tugging kind of quality mixtape soul. I'd have to say just a taste of like evening dredge. I would definitely feel like within the tones. Pretty similar to like the Magic Show, just a little bit more kind of productive type push about it, not quite as recreational. It's like some typical kind of fatigue and thoughtful push kind of have within those aspects. Good song to ruminate to, just kind of smoking out and like the web, maybe not driving while impaired, but just with an aspect of just having like some smokage in your system and just the aspect of just kind of that makeshift push as far as those fairs kind of have with it. This good aspect. It's kind of Target type music, or just it's kind of more neighborhood errands, some of that type fair just with an aspect. It's kind of that 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. type slag. I'd say sunset type music. Don't Come Around is a pretty trendy type one. It's like a neighborhood malaise. I'd have to say about this particular song. This is a primer for some early 2010s mixtape heat. I would definitely feel like here, just some house party revving to kind of get within those aspects. So this one goes pretty well with Show 'em Something. It's kind of more formatted to like late 2009, 2010 type mixtape type fair within the pitch behind it. Just really reminds. This one has a guest rapper on here. Pretty good pitch for that. It's just kind of the concept of something that Gucci Mane or Waka Flocka would kind of do some of those type pitches just within the fair behind it. So this is one of the trendy type ones. This one, like most of this album kind of has leftover type vibes, but it's actually not that terribly much within the fashion of like mid 2000s, late 2000s type fair, apart from the DJ drama mixtape songs. It's actually pretty trendy. It's like the concept. I mean, this is like a good aspect of a product here that just doesn't really show his age as much full bound. When you think of like albums by like Young Buck, like Buck the World, or some of those type ones, or Straight Outta Cashville, or even like I feel like this is just a little bit more where it just has the aspect of just having like where it still feels relatively recent, not so much. I mean, it feels recent for like the early 2010s, but it's just within the pitch that it just doesn't sound dated within the aspect. This has some good type tones, just because I feel like a lot of this is pretty underground just within the pitches behind it. You just would have to say that this is able to nail these particular vibes and just be able to have some of that where it just feels kind of like a conduit between like mid-late 2000s, like 2007, 2008, getting to more things like 2010, 2011. So it's just a good kind of conduit for some of that just nails those particular vibes of just making the transaction of mixtapes, some of that type fair, and like a trap and kind of relative. Like it is makeshift within a certain sense, but it's also more hustlers makeshift. So it's just kind of the tone of just some of that for that 6:30, 5:45 p.m. type slag. I'm the Shit is a nice one as well. It's another buzz single. I feel like within a relative sense, it's like a relative kind of promo single, and it has like a late era kind of ringtone rap flavor about this particular one. This is one that feels more of like the late 2000s type fashion. That's something that Young Buck would have probably had Lil Murda and High C start off on with some of those type pitches. It's like a hole in the wall kind of dance noise kind of get here, and this song slaps pretty well. So it's a good type pitch. I'm the Shit. This has that real nice appeal. Real like the buzz noise about this particular one. I feel like between this one and the Magic Show, these are some of the ones. I'd also say Clockwise is a good one for that, but this is kind of a more posse type song. I mean, I'd say to talk about Clockwise, this is a good type song. It's just kind of within the fashion. It has the good aspects of being able to nail these particular vibes. I think it probably could have been a single, but it's just within the aspect of just saying that this is very underground with all these more low-key type rappers that are on here. But basically, Clockwise is like an underground type taste of riveting 3-6 Mafia, stand on couches, crunk, I'd have to say within those aspects behind it, and this is like some good commute snarl to kind of get here. So it's just one of those type ones for just being excited just amongst the times. Some of these type of songs you might be able to tell that the budget isn't as full bound high within the pitch, doesn't have like Justice League and those type productions, Drama Boy, some of those type ones, but it is definitely good within the pitch. There's this some buzzing type appeal. Still has some good aspects of just nailing that particular vibe of this. It's not like this is weak productions. These are not weak productions. It's just the fact that it's not going to be like the more type folks, like when you think of some folks like Drummer Boy and like South Side and some of those, I can't really think it's full bound, but folks like Manny Fresh, they were probably charging 6 digits for like their beats as far as those fares, or at least 75 grand, some of that type fare, I'd have to say, just in the pitch. But Clockwise is a nice one. This really reminds of 36 Mafia from like 2005, 2006. This real hype type one, this good club type noise to kind of get, but also some good comedy just to be in a good mood, just here in the wind, and like the night type fashion, I'd have to say, good, nice one for that. And it's a posse song, so it really works. I'm loving that. It's a nice one. It's like a thumping bass and kind of low key kind of vehicle knock kind of get here. This reminds me of like Stevie Stone and Tech 9 type level type stuff. I'd have to say it's pretty fun type song kind of get within the tone behind it. So just some good type turn up. It's more residential type fare just in the aspect, just kind of more neighborhood romps just in the pitch. And just if you don't live in like a huge town like Detroit or Philadelphia, some of those type of ones, or just more places like, you know, Pittsburgh, some of those type of fares as far as that particular kind of happens, just kind of more residential bound type stuff, and just more neighborhood romps. Just if you're satisfied with like a 30 pack of beer and just like a couple bottles of Jack Daniels, some of those type pitches, some good type concept kind of get for some of that step out. It's not to say that like this is a low budget type product, but this is more low key down on like this is, you have to understand that Young Buck was 50 Cent slime and Lil Murda's like Young Buck slime just within the pitch, but this is just kind of more territory where he wasn't even as full bound kind of Young Buck slime, just because of the fact of Young Buck going through the turmoil that he was going through. So this is kind of within the pitch. I mean, this did definitely stand on its own. I think once again that Young Buck brought this, but it's just kind of, it's just very sabotage with how it particularly happened. But I'm loving that. Some nice appeals. That's What You Always Say is a nice one as well. It's like a tittering kind of 2000s trap noise kind of get here. This one feels a little bit more ripped out of 2007, 2008. It's like some real talk kind of word on the streets type commotion kind of get here. Just a social kind of plot out within some of those type moments. So it's just kind of neighborhood gab and just street gossip as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. Just kind of the concept of this, like the context of just smoking with your pals and pitches like that. Just figuring out what you're going to do. Pick up some movies. Just get some snacks, goodies, some of that type fare. Just plot some of those particular type fares. Good type tones for that. I Ain't Going is a quality one as well. It's like a sludgy kind of late day traffic, and it just like some of his works with Young Buck, some of those type fares, some of the mixtapes that they did back in 2006. It's like a dreary and slag day, I'd have to say about this particular song. Just some hella smoke. Pretty much goes well with like the Magic Show. You know, this should take it back to some of the Young Buck 2006 mixtapes, like Welcome to the Trap House and Chronic 2006. Some of those type fares. Just feels like Young Buck should be yelling on this particular song like he normally does on some of those type songs that he was on. Just good type pitches, good aspects there. Vintage. This is pretty much, this would be a more immediate one to go for if you just are like more of a full bound fan of like Young Buck. Some of those type fares, I would say it's good type pitch for that. I'd say I Can Show You is a nice one as well. It's like an oozing kind of haunting trap noise kind of get here, pretty similar to like Jeezy in his Recession days from the fall of 2008, and it's like a ghastly and crisp kind of weather for like snackage, I'd say about this particular one. So it's a good type fashion, just gas station runs, getting like some frozen burritos, corn nuts, some of those type pitches just within the fare, getting like a wild cherry Pepsi, some of those type pitches, just the aspects, some of that type fare, picking up lighters, some of that good type stuff. It's good aspects for some of that. Just kind of has that haunting sense. Great music for like September, October, I'd have to say. Good type of appeal. A real nice commercial song about here, I'm surprised I haven't talked about this one yet, would be I'm Ballin'. This probably has like the most kind of pop rap appeal, which is surprising. Has a nice R&B singer on here, not really as full bound. Like, it's not actually someone like T-Pain or Trey Songz, but the suave cat that does the hook is pretty good on here, just in the aspect about it. So this is like probably the most, like I said, the most commercial song off this product within the appeal. I mean, for the most part, Lil Murda, but just within the aspect, you can tell that he's probably more trap and just more this rugged type fare within the pitch. But he does have some commercial grabs on here within a sense, at least some makeshift songs. But this closest thing to pop rap, I'm Ballin' is like a summary kind of relative pop rap appeal about this particular stuff. Just good concept for that. Just huge for like, it's definitely huge for like low key folk like Lil Murda, I'd had to say, and this is like a fizzy and kind of summer fried type song kind of get within the pitch behind it. So just good type appeal. Just cruise around, this lack type music, just in hair in the wind type pitch, just pick up like an ice cream for your belly, some of those type fares just within the pitch behind it, some of that good type stuff just as far as those pitches can happen. Good type, just cruise around and just relative embellish just in the aspects as far as those pitches can go. Probably could have stood to have had like another commercial type bounce on here, but I'd probably say like I'm the Shit and the Magic Shard, like some good other type ones for like some relative kind of just more commercial aspects within that. Like I feel like songs like "I'm the Shit" and "The Magic Show" are just more commercial aspects, just within a more trap type sense, just more traditional, something that Young Buck or Jeezy would do. Some of those type folks that I'd say in particular, but some good type tones for that. And then I would say that like there's some other songs I haven't talked about here. I'm trying to think of what they are. Oh yeah, I want to say "If I Don't Do Nothing's a nice one. There's like a banner and kind of traditional kind of strip club and venue energy to kind of get here. It just reminds me of like a Manny Fresh beat as far as those pitch can happen. Something by like Jeezy with like "And Then What" or one of those type ones. A beat that he probably would have done for like Baby Boy to Prince. Some of those type fairs. Some of those type bops. Just what I'd say. And it's like a good bop to kind of overall get. So it's a good type tone. Something that a Manny Fresh beat that he would have produced for Webby. Just one of those type ones that just feels like Manny Fresh ripped out of the mid 2000s. Good type pitch for that. Just traditional kind of strip club hopper just within the fair behind it. Real nice, just brassy kind of one just within the pitch as far as that kind of goes. Just good aspects. I think the last song I haven't talked about on here is just "I'm Done Talking," the intro song. So this is like a woozy but cold as ice kind of trap intro to kind of get here. It just reminds me of like USDA Cold Summer Album from 2007 and the Recession 2008 Jeezy as far as those pitches can happen. It's just some good outings kind of have. So it's just a makeshift type one within some of those type pitches. Pretty similar to songs like "I'm Loving That" and "I Can Show You," some of those type pitches. So just like the aspect of just having like that kind of haunting type traverse just within the pitch as far as that particular kind of goes. Just oozing type one within the fair behind it. Just real nice appeal for just like the slag type feeling and just like typical kind of just outs in like the autumn and late summer as far as this pitch can happen. Just good aspects of just amongst like that more traditional kind of hustlers makeshift, just end of work shift type fair, but it works for what it is. That's the time about this product. So 9.5 out of 10 as far as those fairs can happen. I think I talked about every song on here as far as that particular fair kind of goes. So it's good type pitches for that. Just some good aspects here. Like the social score, I'll probably give like a 10. I mean, maybe not a 10. I'll give the social score like a 9.75 because I'll give the social score of this project like a 9.75 out of 10 because I realize that the aspects about this project has plenty of makeshift songs on here just within the pitch, some good night venue type songs, good amount of budget within the aspect of just how low key it was, despite the fact that this album probably only sold like 4,000 or 5,000 type copies. I'd say within the pitch that this is basically Young Buck's slime and he stands on his own pretty well. Has pretty good song palette just within the pitch. Has some definite moments on here. Has some songs like "Rock Bottom" and like "I'm Ballin'" that are some ones for like some makeshift type push as far as those pitches can happen. Some of them are sunny, some of them are slagged with just within the appeals. Has some hole in the wall type moments, some dance venue type moments like "I'm the Shit" and "I'm Loving That" and "The Magic Show." Some of those type ones, some mid 2000s kind of makeshift type bops like "I'm the Pack," "Cocaine Theory," and "This Is Love." Some of those type pitches that I had to say. Some house party primers for like some good turn up with like "Show 'Em Something" and "Don't Come Around," some of those type fairs that I had to say, and just some overall nice ones like some good night venue type noise like "Clockwise" and some of those type ones, and some vehicle thump like "I'm Loving That," and even some gossip like "That's What You Always Say." So some good type pitches, just good palette on here. Basically like a more rough around the edges version of Young Buck. Young Buck had pretty good song palettes as well, just within those pitches. I'd have to say he's just a lot more rugged and just a little bit more feral, but just kind of in a lazy type sense. Pretty similar to like BG, I'd have to say within the particular fashion. So just kind of a combination like BG and Young Buck as far as those fairs can go. Just a more rugged and just kind of more slime type version of that, just from the aspect. A lot more low key, just from the aspect. It's basically like getting an album from Tech Nine or Stevie Stone, but just brought to you by Young Buck and G Unit within a mild type sense. It's just within the pitch as far as that particular goes. So good aspect for that. So 9.75 social. If it just would have had like some music videos or a little bit more buzz noise, it'd probably get a 10 out of 10. But it's just the fact that this is pretty far down the tree roots as far as those pitches can happen. So it's just the aspect of just understanding that particular appeal to fuck with it. So in terms of the future, like Lil Murda has not really been as around. In terms of the future, Lil Murda has not really been around as full blown as much nowadays. I don't know. He probably doesn't have the Young Buck affiliation as full bound just because Young Buck has not really been putting out music in terms of mixtapes. He does drop singles and pitches like that, but in terms of albums, it's been a little bit quieter. I think just the aspect of 615 is kind of dried up. I don't know if Lil Murda is even still affiliated with High C. He probably is within the fashion. They're probably still good friends and pitches like that, but in terms of like doing more music together, it seems less likely. But it's just from the pitch, there are some ones to get to. I want to say that Lil Murda has at least 3 or 4 more projects, especially mixtape wise. That's kind of the aspect. But just understand that this is actually an album, kind of underground type fair. Strong Mind ENT might be a label that might have other artists, not really as full bound sure because there's not that much information, but it is like a virtual classic and very vicious, something that's brought to you by Young Buck and pretty much nails the appeal with it within all cylinders.